find different means of
you went the old school route.
Yeah. So like I said,
just for clarity, let's just do the intro again.
Is everyone ready?
Yes.
All right, cool. Hello, people of the world. Welcome back to another episode of Sam Sessions. We're here in the Acoustic A-Room with South Austin Music. Another special episode today. I'm the world's worst interviewer, and to my right, we got Garrett LeBeau.
Yeah. What does that make me if you're the world's?
The world's best interviewee.
Okay, all right.
I set the bar really low, and then it's easy to exceed expectations.
Excellent.
Yes, sir. How you doing today?
I'm just fine. How about yourself?
Not too bad, man. Not too bad. It's always fun doing these. And I actually got to talk with you a little bit yesterday for one of the first times and found out some stuff that I'm super excited to dive into.
Hot dog.
Yes, sir. Let's do it. Real quick, I did see that before you really dived into the music, you were working construction. And
Yes,
I was
true.
curious how you went from construction to playing live music for, all the people out there.
Well, let's see. I'll go back to the beginning and make it short as I can.
Mm-hmm.
So I got my dad had a guitar, and he kept it in his closet. He didn't play it too often.
Mm-hmm.
And then I heard Tom Petty's "Running Down a Dream" as a kid, and Mike Campbell's sweet guitar solo, and I was like, dang. And so I went in, he hits a note in there that he kind of sustains, and I went in the closet and I tried to find that note.
Yeah.
And I was like, where is it,
Yeah.
Not realizing that that's going through an amp and it sounds amazing. So I broke the strings. I remember going to get the guitar out and he's like, what the hell? But that was my beginning attraction to the guitar. And then I tried to take lessons at junior high. And all they were teaching was Mary Had a Little Lamb and stuff like that.
Okay.
So I didn't learn anything. I was like, what? I don't want to learn that, So pretty much I was introduced to the guitar. I had a guitar, and then we moved to Missouri as a kid. And there was this guy in the church, and he was Reformed. He was a bar band guy for his whole entire life. That's all he did.
Okay.
And I remember I went over to his house, and he had this old 70s Strat that was all wore out. And that was exactly at the time that Blind Melon, that's what they're called, right? Yeah.
Blind Melon?
Yeah, they came out with the whole song, their big hit song.
Yeah, I mean...
Oh, song.
Oh,
I don't want to hear that back, what I just did. I like watching the puddles gather.
Oh, yeah, that puddles gather. No, I'll cut that. Yeah.
You're gonna edit that out too.
Straight over my head.
This is all really good. This is great.
Yeah, we're
it
not.
Makes it sound like we are musicians and we can sing. We're tuneful and
just a bunch of guys back here going. Da, 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 da. Yeah, I know that song. That's the song. Yeah, I know that one.
But anyways, that song. Yeah, that song. The Puddles of Rain song.
Okay.
Watching them. Yeah.
Gotcha.
I saw the video for that, or not the video, the performance of that on SNL.
Oh, okay.
And he was playing a 70s cream style like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like when you're kind of into things, as a kid, you pick up on those things, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, wow, cool, beat up guitar. So what he taught me was to play rhythm for him, so he could play lead for hours. And hours.
Yeah.
He was like, hey, and the lesson consisted of you can bend these bottom three strings. So he showed me the main pentatonic box, and you can bend the bottom three strings. So he's like, here's a half step, here's a whole step, and you can see how that sounds, and then you can vibrato them, and basically don't do that to these top three.
Yeah.
And I'm very thankful for that lesson, but. That's what started me playing.
Yeah.
But it was all real slow. So it took me a long time because I didn't have anybody to play with.
Yeah.
So I basically developed my initial playing skills over probably 10 years and then something like that.
Right.
10 years or so.
And then got sick enough of construction to just be like, hey, put me on the stage and play.
Yeah. I'm going to digress. I'm too much in this interview. Yeah, 0809 I was doing construction. The market crashed, if you remember this. And so I moved here to do that, not to play.
Right.
And then one day I was driving into town, had opened this organic vending machine business.
Oh.
But like too early.
Before everyone wanted organic stuff?
Yeah, I mean, it was right when it was happening, but it probably would be successful now, but it was just a little too early. And then I got, gutted by the crash with the construction.
Yeah.
So that was the side hustle, and it wasn't going well. So I come in and I saw this restaurant was opening, and I was like, I'll stop in there and get something. And the guy says, hey, I need a band. Do you know anybody? He's like, hey, yeah, me. So I had written all these tunes, and I started going down there and playing. And that's how I started.
What was the restaurant?
It's called the Trading Post at BK.
Oh, okay. I got you.
And yeah, it just so happened that that's an affluent area, right?
Mm-hmm.
So actually that gig paid really well.
Okay. So you saw that, and you're like, I got to do more of this.
Well, yeah, because they had me Friday, Saturday. And I'm
nice.
making a couple grand just playing there for a restaurant gig, at a time where it's hard to make any money. So it was helping keep us just alive.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet.
It was really an accident,
mm-hmm.
As far as like doing it for real.
Yeah.
And then I got to give a shout out to Dave Whitney at Thread Gills. He came by, and then I ended up going and playing, Antone's, Thread Gills, all those places, kind of right away.
Yeah. I was going to ask you about Thread Gills, because they went sayonara like, what was that, 5-7 years ago?
Well, the south location did.
So they still have a location open?
Well, you have to know these things. You're gonna have to cut that.
we make me look bad all the time. Yeah, we're not scared of it.
He's the world's worst interviewer.
Yeah. Remember the whole setting the bar low?
Well, Austin likes its history, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So Thread Gills is a big deal because it's the era of the Armadillo, right? World headquarters.
Mm-hmm.
So, so the North location just closed like during the pandemic.
Oh, okay.
And then the South location closed a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Which is a real bummer.
So I know about the South location really well because I remember going to see shows there.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, what was it like playing there?
I mean, it was great.
Yeah.
It was a place to play with people that appreciated having musicians.
Mm-hmm.
And, so it was a good crew, and DJ and who ran the place with Dave were both great, and Russell Tanner was a sound man who then kind of these are all Austin names people would know, but
yeah, sure.
he interned under Chet Himes, and then he runs the studio down there, Austin School of Music.
Oh, okay, cool.
So I met a lot of people that I ended up working with to this day. Basically.
Built a lot of connections to there.
Yeah, in fact, I'm gonna go see Dave Whitney on my way back, out west.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good stuff. So you're talking about how you first learned the bass pentatonic scales. Pentatonic.
Yeah.
Yeah. I read that you don't know the names of a lot of the chords you play?
Yes, this is true.
This is still true?
Yeah, I just didn't, so I taught myself to play, and I mean, what's the point? I guess,
You
it's
just
not what's the point, it's just that I remember all my songs, so I don't really pay attention to any of that stuff. And I'm playing a lot of weird chords, diminished chords and partial chords, stuff you play in rhythm and blues,
right?
And it's not intentional, and I'm also not, to the people of the world, I am not suggesting that you should not learn anything.
I mean, it's worked out pretty okay for you so far, it seems,
Well, but the thing about that was I learned to play, for whatever reason, blues to start with. So you don't have to know a lot to play blues, right?
Okay.
Now, not dissing blues, the whole thing is, you got to have a style, right?
Yeah, you play with emotion.
Well, and just in everything.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to develop. You got to go from this raw thing into singing a way that's genuine for you, playing a way that's genuine, and then beyond that, crafting that into an actual sound that sounds like a thing.
Yeah.
For lack of a better way of putting it. And however you do that is great. But, like there's all kinds of great sidemen, right?
Mm-hmm.
Tons of schooled, learned people out there.
Yeah.
And nobody gives a shit about what they're doing.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm not saying that, I'm not dissing that either.
No, but I hear you. I totally get it.
I need those schooled, learned people to come and be the MD in the band to tell the keyboard player and everybody else what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's nice to have one of them. Hey, what chord is that? Oh, it's the diminished 13th, whatever, flatted thing.
Yeah, but that's just not necessarily what it was about for you, like being so particular and.
Well, if you're the front guy, that's your job.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that I saw about blues in particular is, I would go there was this blues fest, oddly enough in Wyoming, in the early aughts, and I would go to it, and it'd be like everybody playing the same songs, and it sucked. And then like there would be, the headliner, like Taj Mahal or whatever, right? And that would be great.
Yeah.
But it'd be like a bunch of bands playing the same shit, And they weren't like doing their own thing, and it was real clear to me when I was listening to a lot of that music, like I liked Willie Dixon and stuff like that. I was like, man, these dudes are just doing whatever. Mm-hmm. Like, because people would argue about, well, that version of that song is not. Well, that's not the right version. Now, if you listen to the other version, I was like, man, those guys were just getting a groove, and if they needed a song, I think they're like, well, this song's popular right now, and then they would do their version of it to their own groove, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, you can't. That's antithetical to the style. Don't be learning how to do your own thing.
Yeah, find your own way to do it.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. Kind of makes it more fun for you, for sure.
Well, and even though you're in a genre, you're still, that's one thing I'll say about people that don't understand genres. Genres are hard to do your own thing with inside of, because you already have a framework.
Yeah.
But it's cool, they kind of train you up, right? You know what I'm saying? So if you listen to like B.B. King, does not sound like Freddie King, right?
Yeah.
It does not sound like Albert Collins, does not sound like Gatemouth Brown, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, in every genre, it's like that. Anybody can get together with some other kid and start playing some songs that suck, probably that they made up, and it sounds like music because you're all playing together, right?
Yeah.
But anybody could do that.
Okay.
So, I'm not dissing that, people in the world. I'm just saying, don't be dissing on a style because you don't understand it, right?
Right, okay.
There's all kind of things to know about everything.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and people kind of always tend to hate on something that they haven't seen before or noticed, and then all of a sudden it becomes like the new favorite thing.
Yeah, they'll be like, blues guys.
Yeah.
Oh, vintage country guys. That's just coloring inside the boxes. And I'm like, you don't know what you're talking about.
yeah, exactly. So how would you describe your genre?
It is a mixture of like singer-songwriter stuff. Mm-hmm. Because that's what I started with, was like playing blues, but then I went to writing songs. Yeah. And then kind of R&B stuff. And funk stuff. Okay. So to me, it's like four things. It's like there's four hats. See? Yeah. Singer-songwriter, blues, R&B, soul, funk.
Okay. So I think you're one of our first guests that would describe their music as like any kind of R&B. I'm curious where that comes from.
Rhythm and blues?
Yeah.
Well, rhythm and blues is like, now again, people of the world, I could be wrong. Everything I could be saying is totally wrong.
Let me make it clear. When I say people of the world, we're shooting high.
Yeah, I know.
In reality, we got a few hundred. Yeah. So, people of the hundreds.
People of the hundreds. Well, as soul went on, it kind of got more arranged. Okay. Right? So rhythm and blues, it just was like, to my ears, a little more song oriented. Mm-hmm. So I think of like, O.V. Wright as rhythm and blues, or like James Carr as rhythm and blues. So it's a little more song focused, right? Okay. And that's, in my simple way of putting it, that's how I see it. Yeah. So it doesn't get too arranged. Too fancy. Yeah. Because I don't like it when it gets too fancy. Right. I like it when it's still got, like, Ann Peebles, to me, in that whole high thing, I really like what they do. And I like what she does because it's still pretty, it's got some nice kind of,
spunk.
Yeah, gut buckety in places and good and not too fancy. Where the Motown stuff a lot of times is pretty fancy.
Mm-hmm.
And now, I'm not dissing that. I'm just saying for where I'm trying to stay is away from the too fancy.
Yeah, yeah.
Because the longer you play, the more you get smooth.
Mm-hmm.
Your edges get sanded down, you see?
Yeah.
And you want to... And so, I'm trying to...
Yeah, that conveys when you're playing to people, too.
Yeah,
You're comfortable with what you're doing.
I want to be real comfortable, but I still want to have a little grit in there, So,
yeah.
Because that's what I like to listen to.
I heard you never play with a pick. Is that just the way you learn?
No, the reason I got rid of a pick is because I didn't want to sound like other people.
Oh, okay.
And so when you're doing up and down picking, and especially if you play with the Strat, and you're playing at volume, you're going to sound a certain way.
Yeah.
And so I did not want to be told I sounded like Stevie Ray Vaughan at all, Not because I don't like Stevie, but
you just want to have your own thing.
Yeah. And again, you're trying to, within a genre, define what you do.
Yeah.
So you want to give yourself as many opportunities to do that.
Yeah.
So I just ditched that. Then I couldn't do a lot of those things.
Yeah.
So I had to develop a completely different technique set,
Right. It seems like all these unique ways you've gone about these things have worked out, and I say that because, when you did your full-length album, I know the guy you had on bass did bass for Dixie Chicks. Is that correct? And then your drummer used to be the drummer for Eric Clapton. And so, you have to have a pretty high level of talent for these people to, be drawn to you and want to do the album with you. And I'm curious if you think that they did the album with you because of these unique styles you have, or was it more of just a personal relationship you had with them?
Well, so in the case of Jamie Oldacre, I reminded him a lot of 70s Clapton.
Okay.
And he was with Clapton from, I think, 461 Ocean Boulevard through 24 Nights, so that was 20 years or something. And he also was J.J. Kelly on Russell. He worked with them too. In Tulsa. He's a Tulsa guy. So yeah, he was just looking for something that, as an older player at that point in his life, right, that he identified with.
Yeah, reminiscent.
Yeah, and he was like, that's cool. And so he came to me at a show I was doing. Willis Allen Ramsey actually introduced me to him because of Whitney. I was opening shows for Willis when he would come to town. And so they were tight, and he came down, and that's how I met him. And yeah, he liked the material, and that was why he wanted to play with me.
Yeah.
And then Roscoe, the same. And, Roscoe, he mentored me basically in the studio because up until that point, it's hard to find if you're playing, and you guys know because if you're out on the scene trying to play, but you have to go through this whole process where you learn how to have a band, and people are real slackers. I think the only thing that I don't like about Austin that Austin needs is it needs more mentoring, you see.
Yeah.
Because it's really easy to not. It's just like you're playing with this person, you're playing with that person, right? To survive, you're playing a lot of gigs like most people are.
Yeah.
And if you're any good, you're going to be playing a lot of good gigs, right? You're going to be picked up fast. But then nobody rehearses. And then you're feeling like, that you're asking a favor of people.
To play with you.
To do the work that's involved to actually do the gig to start with. And so it was like this catch-22 of like trying to get the sound I needed to get, but then not being able to get it out of the players and looking for those players, and that can gobble up a lot of time, years.
Yeah.
And so then I met Roscoe, JJ, Jamie, and I didn't have to worry about anything. I mean, I just went in there and sounded exactly like I wanted to sound. Then it became very clear to me that it's all about your players.
Yeah. That's
it.
Yeah.
I mean, play with good people, problem solved. And if you're good, you will be elevated, right? And they will make you better, So now that's hard to do and that brings me back to being an original. The only reason I got that opportunity is because I have a sound that didn't suck.
Yeah.
According to them.
Yeah.
Right? You might think it sucks out there. I don't know. I don't care what you think, people. But
don't let them get you down, Garrett.
But you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
So thank you to all those folks, and especially thank you to Roscoe, who, by the way, is the most very seriously dedicated player I've ever met. I mean, every time I go to his house,
he produced it too, didn't he?
He's practicing. We produced it together.
Okay.
And I mean, he was Leonard Cohen's band director for like 30 years.
Okay. A lot of experience with him.
Well, and then also Eric Johnson's bass player. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Dixie Chicks. Number one hits with back in the day. He's the one that picked out the Joe Cocker tune with what's her face? The Love Lifts Us Up Where We Belong.
Oh my God.
Which I heard on the bus, and I was like, make it stop. Roscoe, that's a great tune. But no, you see what I'm saying? Like, he's done it all and seen it all.
Yeah, gotcha.
And so Roscoe's, I just can't thank him enough, because when we're in the studio, it's like, man, your ears are really good. You need to trust him. Just do your thing. So that was a record I ended up mixing because he had to go with Leonard. Leonard called him when we were in the sessions for that record. And he's like, just send me the mixes and I'll tell you. And he's like, no, it's on the... And we had tracked everything and started mixing at that point. Mm-hmm. So, he was really great and super gracious and kind with his time. And probably... I don't know if I reflected to him the proper amount of thankfulness. I'm sure that I did, but in case I didn't,
you're doing a good job.
I'm going to double down on that and say, thank you, sir.
Yeah, that's good. That's good to hear, man. I know that it seems like you've been playing and kind of doing business in the music industry for a little while, and business deals can kind of go one of two ways, where it's really great or doesn't end up very well. And I'm curious if you have ones that come to mind that worked out really well and ones that come to mind that didn't work out too well for you.
What kind of question is that?
It's politically correct.
That's like no, it's not. That's like, give me some dirt.
We gotta draw in the people, of the world.
Of the world.
Keep them
well,
interested.
Now, being a LeBeau, I can't say that we're known for always being the most diplomatic. We can be quite fiery personalities.
And by the way, I should have prefaced it and said, if you don't want to get into anything,
I think that's it's actually an interesting thing. It's just like people are they're so sensitive about their sacred cows, don't you know?
For sure, yeah.
And I don't believe in that. And so my thing would be this. In the music business, it's not, coming out of construction, it's like you bid a job and you do the job and you get paid. This is not like that. It's like you gotta, if the person was, not always, but a lot of the time, if the person had a great success in their past, then you have to kind of facilitate their ego, right?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of waiting around and a lot of people telling you that this is going to happen and that's going to happen, right? Yeah. And so I've waded through that whole thing and was ripped off for a bunch of money by a certain person that played drums from Oklahoma.
Yeah.
And he ripped off my financier for like $25,000. Yeah. In my name. And that was kind of my introduction to the business.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. And so it was like, I've had all these weird things where it's like, you meet this person you listened to and idolized, and then it was like, and you thought, something big was going to happen, and you're taking big meetings with, record labels and thinking shit's like, and then that happens, you get ripped off. And then, and I've also had like the greatest experience, like meeting Roscoe and having him be a personal friend. So yeah, if I went into depth on those stories, they would be quite revealing. I'm gonna agree that when you meet your, idols, you're just gonna find they're just people like anybody else, right?
That's the pin I'm trying to put in.
Yeah, exactly.
Is we're all human. We're all
human and we make mistakes and all I care about is if somebody makes a mistake, you know, if they apologize for it
Mm-hmm.
and own up to it,
Right.
and people are going to make mistakes, right?
Yeah.
So that's the thing you have to learn is how to let people, you know, give them some grace, because if somebody does something dumb, they can't come back from it if you don't give them any grace, you know. Sometimes they don't deserve
them a chance
that,
to, yeah.
right? But like whatever, you know. I mean, I'm not a person that necessarily, I'm not like big on holding grudges, but I also, I'm not going to forget about getting stabbed in the back for something. You know?
Of course not, yeah.
So
rightfully so.
And neither is anybody else, truthfully. You know?
And to get stabbed in the back and to still describe it in the way you're describing it definitely shows a lot about your character, too. Because some people would come on here and they'd be like, well, F that guy and F what he did and, you know, screw anyone that likes him, you know.
Oh, right, No, I'm not like that. I mean, life's too short for that. But yes, what's it? You got to pay for an education, that old line, you know.
Yeah.
So I sure did get educated real good.
Big learning experience, huh?
Oh yeah, and now what I see is just in the industry is there's a lot of people, because the labels aren't doing, well, they don't exist like they used to, and so a lot of these smaller labels are angel investors, right? Mm-hmm. So they're business people that have money and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which I've also been involved in that.
Yeah.
You got to be careful there. I refer to those people as collectors. And they like to collect them up some colorful folks to hang out with.
Yeah.
So that when they want to jet set down yonder, they can.
Yeah.
And it makes them feel good to be surrounded by these artists. But they don't walk a day in their shoes, right? Mm-hmm. And so most of that's a bunch of horse shit, you know. And in the future, I will not be involving myself with anybody that comes around waving stacks of money at me unless...
It's a red flag now.
Yeah, it's a red flag to me. I'm like, really? You know, like, what are you doing for anybody? Show me what you actually did for somebody, and I'll consider listening to what you have to say. You know. Yeah. Now, people of the world, that might sound jaded to you, but it's really not. The business is in this weird place, and it's like, yeah, it's a weird, you know, it's hard. It's a strange business to negotiate for sure. And I've had, like, you know, a lot of success, so to speak, by many people's standards, right? And then in my own, it's just like, yeah, whatever, you know.
Gotcha.
It's just that, you know, you do this thing, you do that thing. I was the McMurtry interview is talking about, like, the alligator backs in the game, right? You know, it's that, you know, you just move on to the next thing, move on to the next thing. Yeah. Werner Herzog talks about if some bad shit happens to you, just like try to put it to sleep. I think he gives himself like 2 weeks or some shit like that, and then he goes on to the next thing. You know?
I would like to quickly take it like way back. You know, you have the unique playing style. You have clearly these unique experiences playing, and you have a really unique background as well. I know that you came up in Wyoming on the Wind River Reservation.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about that at all and how that was?
Sure. What do you want to know about it?
What was it like growing up on a reservation?
Isolating. There's not a lot out there, you know. Yeah. I mean, there's great things about it. Reservations are, you know, fairly, well, they're remote, generally speaking, right? You know? Yeah. So there's something about all that space. I think got into the music. I do actually, because I like space in my music. I don't like it cluttered up with a bunch of stuff. So like the groove, and I think maybe some of that could be from the tribal roots. I don't really know, so I'm not reading too much into that. But like for me, everything starts with the rhythm, and goes from there, and probably why I like blues a lot too. You know?
Comes from that.
Yeah, yeah, because a lot of like the Reverend Gary Davis and some of the really cool finger picking stuff. It's all it's cool rhythmic. Yeah, rhythmically, right? You know, and I like that stuff, but it's a trip because it's so isolated from the rest of the world, and so, you know, just from the culture in the little town down the street, you know, and it's really it's very segregated in the sense that just, I mean, the folks that are on the res tend to stay on the res, right? And things have been the way they've been for a long time, and so having half of my family, you know, that are fully native and living out there certainly is an experience that
few people know about, including me. Yeah.
No, it is not. It's one of those things. Like I've often tried to figure out, well, if I could bring anything back there, but it's like pretty depressing place in many ways.
I hear you.
From a social, you see a lot of social wreckage.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So just that is interesting. But then there's also this, gateway on the Wind River, reservation in particular to the mountains.
Mm-hmm.
So then as a kid, just being able to go out there and go hunting. That was really cool. So,
yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, every year I'd go out and do that with Dad.
Right.
Open sight 30-30, lever action.
Yeah.
Shot the first elk with Dad when I was like in third grade or something.
That's pretty sweet. That's pretty incredible.
So yeah, there's a lot of great experiences. I don't know how to talk about that though because it's such a big topic.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I hear you. I'm curious, like how much of this background you have lends itself through your music. I know you've described like music is kind of like a therapy to you, which it is to most musicians. But do you think it's improved your songwriting having these experiences from your background?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think there's all different kind of ways to write songs, so there's not a wrong way, right?
Yeah.
Now I tend to not write story songs.
Mm-hmm.
Myself.
Okay.
Other people are really good at it, and I like to hear what they have to say about it. Like Mick Murtry's thing was he was talking about writing songs and how you don't want to be giving them a sermon, and there's a fine line between that, which is cool. And I tend to write in a different style just because it is therapy to me.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's how it started. It was like a way to sing about things and a way to get out things I needed to get out and was not really intended to be for people to hear.
Right. What if you want to describe it as like storytelling, how would you, if you had to, how would you describe it?
Well, it's not using that
framework.
Vehicle of like I'm gonna write about the person that I saw in the store.
Right.
Like I seen this woman and she was smoking outside the grocery store and I asked her how long she'd been a butcher for.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she said 35 years, So then I write, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Her whole story.
Yeah, I'm like, Velma was the butcher,
Mm-hmm.
I don't do that. But other people do it really well, right?
Gotcha.
So it's just interesting. Like there's no wrong way, right way. It's like the whole thing again comes back to your way of doing things.
Yeah.
That's all that matters. And do you have a style? Does it sound like you? That's the other thing is like editing down your shit.
Mm-hmm.
Because I write lots of songs, but I don't put out a lot of songs because they need to fit somewhat in this thing stylistically.
Yeah.
Right? I could write a song for somebody else. Like maybe I'll write a song and say this one's good for that person. But like you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. You don't want to be stuck in a box.
Well, no, I'm saying that I created a box that I have to stay in to a certain degree.
Okay.
Because I have a style, right?
Uh-huh.
So I don't like when somebody writes a bunch of songs that are nothing like what you associate with them.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go to get their record and you're like, what the hell is this?
Okay.
This sucks.
Yeah.
Because, but now, look, I'm not saying you can write and do whatever you want to.
Mm-hmm.
But, it's like figuring out what you're good at and going in that direction, that's good, right?
And sticking with it, yeah.
Yeah, and you have a wheelhouse of stuff and it sounds like this. And so I call that houses of sound.
Mm-hmm.
If you do this right, hopefully you'll be a house of sound when you get big.
Yeah.
When you grow into a full-grown musician, you'll have a sound, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not like all over the place. And so I see that with a lot of people who are starting. They write songs and you can't pin them down on anything, and then you get their record and there's no through line of anything.
Right.
That's just not being realized as an artist to me.
Yeah, I gotcha.
You do. It's like you're trying to put out a body of work to me, and I still think records are important for that reason. Like it doesn't matter to me what people buy. I don't care. You got to do it for you. So if you're on the path of the artist and you want to get somewhere, hopefully the records help you to have a through line.
Right.
Because that's hard to do.
Mm-hmm.
actually.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't know. I just wouldn't even dare try.
Oh, now.
Now I have another question. We don't have to talk about it if you don't want to. I do
No,
feel like
I will
put you
talk
in a
about
couple
anything.
hard spots. But I know you were also raised as a Jehovah's Witness, and I've heard you describe it as a cult. And
Sure.
like I said, this is about you, not me. So whether or not I agree, it doesn't matter. I agree. I would like to know, what that was like and kind of how you got out of it and the, bravery it took to get out of it, being raised that way.
Yeah. Sure.
And
that's something that I'm happy to talk about. It's funny because I was thinking about this. I've been staying with some friends of mine here, and the reason I know them, some of the first musicians I met here was because the woman, was this singer Debbie Walton. She was raised as a witness too, and so we were just talking about that the other night.
Right.
What it was like to be raised that way, because back in things have changed dramatically for witnesses in the modern era because of the internet.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, probably from about 2012 or 14 on, their schedule is different.
Okay.
But to give you an idea, when I was a kid, it was like, so Monday night you study for Tuesday night meeting. So you got to go to school, come home, study Monday.
Mm-hmm.
Tuesday, we had what's called the book study, and my dad was an elder, so that means Tuesday you come home from school. There was 5 of us kids, and you're doing cooking dinner, cleaning tables, setting up the living room. Everybody's coming to the house. That's an hour, and you got to put that all up. That's Tuesday. Wednesday, you got to study for Thursday night's meeting. So you're back home from school, and then you got, you imagine like a family trying to wrangle all these kids so they have everything studied.
Yeah.
And then Thursday you've got 2 hours of meeting, Thursday night. Now Friday you got to get your presentations together for Saturday, and Saturday you're going to go and knock on doors. And then Saturday night you got to get ready for Sunday meeting. And Sunday you're going to go to church, and then if you're really good, you'll go out in service go knock on doors after that. So you can see what an insane schedule that was.
Yeah.
So I was allowed to have a break. I could have friends over one Saturday a month, and then we also lived on a ranch, and so it'd be like, I remember Dad was raised pretty old school. He worked as a kid helping do things around the ranch. So it was like, hey, you guys have been playing all morning. Why don't you help fix fences? So it was kind of funny. Kids did not really like to come over too much.
Right. So did you break out and get to have all the fun you wanted to?
No. So what happened was I'm just giving you an example of what that was like.
Yeah.
And not this being an elder's kid, but who was like a deacon or a bishop or whatever you would call him in another church. But yeah, it's just what it amounts to. I say it's a cult because that's what it is. If you take up everybody's time with these, there's no time, as you could see, for anything else. Yeah. And then you've got this ideology that you're doing all this stuff or you're going to live forever. In their case, they don't believe in heaven. They do believe in Jesus, but so they are Christians, because I to all those people that say they're not Christians, well, they believe in Jesus, so I mean, whatever, Christian enough. And so yeah, that just was a crazy, what it does is smashes people's identities. And a cult is a high control group, so you can look up, if you're in a cult, high control group, look up what a high control group is, and then ask those questions of yourself, and if you can answer a bunch of them, you're in a cult. If the answer is, yep, I identify with this. Yeah, so basically they destroy your identity as a human being, and then they can control you. And so what it was like to be raised as one is an incredibly soul-crushing
experience.
Yeah, they turn you into oatmeal as a human being. You're just like a gray mass of nothing going on,
Yeah.
And the other thing is you're not supposed to draw any attention to yourself. So probably the hardest thing with playing music was I was compelled to write, because I was trying to. the cognitive dissonance, deal with that. But yet you can't draw any attention to yourself. So the strangest thing about that for me as an adult is, you know, I was raised that way. I got married when I was 19, because that's what you do in the church. Mm-hmm. And then I started to realize, like, you know, probably in my early 20s, that this was messed up.
Yeah.
I was like, you know, because we weren't living up to the principles, and I was seeing a lot of hypocrisy, and that's initially what, you know, you'll see that in church people, and they start to drift off. They're like, but this doesn't add up, and this thing isn't, you know, but they always find ways to justify it. You know, so you go through like a whole drifting off period. And so that pretty much encompassed my whole 20s. Mm-hmm. And in that organization, if you leave, you can't even talk to the people. So as a kid, you don't have friends that aren't
Jehovah's Witnesses.
You can't do any sports. You can't do any of this stuff. If you're you have no contact with worldly people. And then as an adult, you know, you're going to get married to the first person that you ever go out with, probably. Yeah, it's insane. It's certainly a psychotic setup.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I did end up losing my family over it, because by the time I realized it was too late, you know, and my ex-wife is still a member of that cult.
Yeah.
So, and I have 2 kids, and, you know, and I've raised them to think for themselves, which has been good.
It's definitely great.
They're fairly more advanced, I think, than the other kids, because they've had to ponder these things. You know?
Yeah.
And the two rules for them was basically, like, don't talk about stuff you don't understand. Mm-hmm. So if you can't explain it in depth and in detail, and take it apart, put it back together again, then don't say you believe in it. And then just do things for the right reason.
Yeah.
Always. And you should be good.
Great values. Yeah, great values.
I think they pretty much cover everything.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Last thing I want to say is, you have these crazy experiences that, I mean, I can't even, like, it's hard for me to even try to imagine, but the wisdom you've gained from it is super clear to see. And so if there's, you know, one good takeaway from it, it's that you've definitely, you know, these life experiences have lended to some really good knowledge, I would say.
Well, that's good. That's good. I hope that'll help me pay the bills.
Yeah, me too. You've earned it.
One thing I was going to say about the witness thing, I don't think I said this. The hardest thing has been to learn how to just live your life. Which is a real weird thing for somebody who doesn't grow up that way to understand. Because in that organization, everything is done. It's like you're doing things, it's prescribed for you, right?
Right.
So imagine, if you will, like, all that goes away one day, then you don't really know how to live your life. It's like being institutionalized. Mm-hmm. So it's weird. Like, that's actually still to this day kind of weird for me. Like, well, what do you do with your day? You live your day doing what you want to do. Mm-hmm. Well, that's weird. Nobody asked me ever what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
What do I want to do?
Yeah. Yeah,
it's really strange. And it's funny, in playing music, I've met some other people who are in Christian cults.
Okay.
I guess there's a ton of little ones. And I'll talk about that occasionally, and they'll approach me afterwards and be like, I'm really embarrassed, because I actually was in this cult.
Yeah.
And I got drawn into it as an adult, and I didn't realize it. And I've had some pretty, you know, interesting encounters with folks, and some of them kept in touch with them, you know, because they've got to now integrate back into real world shit, you know. Right. Yeah.
Let's do this or that, huh?
Yeah.
That was really cool. Thank you for talking about a lot of those things. I appreciate it. You going into some of it.
Yeah, I didn't take the opportunity to really slam those people that screwed me over.
You want to call them out? Call them out, man. We'll shut it down. Say the name! Say the name.
Next time.
I got you, man. But seriously, the reason I wanted to bring it up is because somebody out there is going to take that and hear it and learn from it without having to learn it the hard way, like, you know, some other people have to. So. Oh
yeah, let's go down. You know what? Can we do a thing on that real quick?
Yeah, please.
Band stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, play with a metronome. Okay? I know that this is silly and it's so simple, but it's important. Play it with a metronome. Play with a metronome. Learn how to play with one so it goes away.
Okay.
Learn how to play on the time, behind the time, in front of the time. Subdivide. Don't, like, practice with the 16th so you can subdivide down. Because then you can play outside when you want to, but as long as you hit a subdivision, you're good, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is important. This is real important. And then when you go to play with your band, because I notice a lot of bands that never played before, like they have a thing against a metronome, like, oh, that's not no. Learn how to play with the metronome. Then you can not play with it if you want to, right? But like, lock that shit down, understand that. That'll make you way, way better. Way better, super fast. It's so like easy.
Yeah, got it.
But people just don't like it. Like the concept of playing with the metronome is like, oh, that's not cool. No, it's cool.
Yeah.
You got to play with it until it goes away. It's not. It has a shitty
training wheels.
Yeah, it's training. It doesn't feel good to play to one, but like this is important stuff. Play with the metronome.
Yeah. And learn it here so you don't have to learn that later on.
Yeah, timing.
Got it. Good stuff.
That's the good stuff. And in fact, I need to heed my own advice because I have gone through some dramatic life changes. We didn't talk about that, but I don't live in Austin proper anymore. I moved back to the reservation.
Did you?
Yeah, and so this winter I have not really been playing. I took some time off.
Gotcha.
I played a shit ton last summer to the point of like burnout, So last show I played was Sisters Folk Fest in October, and then I haven't played since until I came down here, and then I played like 5 shows here in the last week and a half.
How are those shows?
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm energized to come back and play.
Of course.
So I just started practicing.
You have to get some breaks in between the work.
You do, yeah. Otherwise, you're not gonna love it. You gotta always love it.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Anyways.
Do you think you'll be coming back to Austin full time, or do you think you're staying out there for now?
I don't know.
Yeah. Time will tell.
Time will tell. I mean, I had a house. COVID kind of burned down my whole life, so I lost my house, and I was just like, I was trying to think of, what am I going to do for the future on the res? See, I can get land, and I don't have to pay taxes on it, not to pay water, and I will have, as I get older, healthcare that's good. Mm-hmm. So, as a musician,
works out. Yeah.
Yeah, you got to have a bass, which I had here, but now I don't. So. Yeah.
Well, take it from a 22-year-old who doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. You'll pull through. Take some real. I'm using those words.
I've got a bunch of cool shit happening up there, but yes,
cool.
You've got to plan. You got to have a plan, man.
Yeah.
None of us knew the housing prices were going to double inside of 4 years.
Yeah.
So it's just pricing out, so you can't live here anymore. Which Mick Murtry was talking about that too.
Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, everybody's experienced it. I mean, I think I've already said it, but the only reason I'm still able to live in Austin is because I'm in affordable housing.
Yeah.
So it's like, if you don't have something sweet hooked up, you're screwed. For sure.
You're screwed. You're definitely screwed.
Unless you're some tech, genius who makes a shit ton of money or something. But that sounds boring to me.
That's why I was happy to have that gig at the sausage place yesterday.
Yeah.
I said to all those nice people they could take their selfies, eating their sausage with us in the background. Wouldn't that be something?
Oh, all right, Garrett. So real quickly, we're gonna run through some this or that questions. I'll give you 2 options. Pick the first one that comes to your mind.
Yeah.
Nice and easy. Tacos or pizza?
Tacos. Oh, yummy. I love me some tacos.
Gotcha.
No, I like pizza too.
Okay.
So both, but in order, tacos.
Tacos first. Acoustic or electric?
I like them both. They're just different animals.
Mm-hmm.
I prefer electric because of playing with the band.
Right.
But acoustic is not to be discounted. It's just a different thing,
Of course.
And I also have focal dystonia, if you know what that is.
That is beyond me.
That's one of the reasons I don't play acoustically as much. In the beginning, I played a lot more acoustic, but essentially, they don't understand why it happens, but your hands just kind of don't work. And if I'm doing a lot of barring, they'll just stop working.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
So I had to develop my technique around that.
Yeah.
So I can play.
Yeah. Well, it's work. Like I said, it's working out. I've heard your live sessions. You sound amazing up there. Sounds like your hands work just fine to me.
Well, yeah.
A certain way you play it.
Yeah.
Going out of the house, you like style or comfort?
I like both.
Both? Yeah. Stylistically comfortable?
Yeah, that's right. See, right now I'm stylistically comfortable.
Yeah. There you go. Talking about the.
I got me some shoes that I like.
Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah.
You like when you do write it on paper or you like doing it on a computer?
On any old thing that's around.
Yeah, doesn't matter either way.
Receipts, whatever there is to be writing on.
Gotcha.
Nowadays, it's nice to have your little microphone, because I like to put it on when I'm driving, and just make up shit,
Yeah.
Like get a groove, and I'll get one line.
Freestyle.
Yeah, and then I'll just kind of vamp on that.
Yeah.
And then later I'll go back and listen to that and decipher it down into something intelligible.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. What about snacks? You like hot Cheetos or like regular Cheetos?
I don't think I be eating too many Cheetos.
What's your favorite snack?
Favorite snack?
You gotta have one. Cheez-Its, Doritos.
Tater chips.
Something, right?
I'm not a big snacker.
You can't tell me you
I
sit.
think about it.
You
I
don't
like
have a bag of chips?
I like me some good popcorn.
Okay. That's a good one. I got a bag of popcorn at home right now.
Sometimes I like me those pork rinds.
Yeah.
When I can find them, those are good.
Yeah, they come in and out of season, it seems.
Yeah.
To me. Martin or Gibson?
Martin or Gibson? Well, see, they both have their attributes.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say that I tend to be more of a Gibson guy myself, but a great Martin is any kind of great guitar. Like when you play a good one, because you always hear about the good ones, and most of them are not holy grails, right?
Yeah.
Whenever you do play like a certifiably great example of said instrument, you go, I get why this is such a lauded, design, right?
Mm-hmm.
Options.
Yeah, absolutely.
I like me some options.
It's important for sure. All right, let's do last one here. Cat or dog?
Dog all the way.
Yeah, good stuff.
The one definable answer.
Yeah.
Dude, dogs are...
That's how we know we like you.
Dude, dogs are where it's at.
Yeah, for sure.
Cats are all finicky and shit.
Yeah.
Has to put up with that.
Yeah.
I know, I've known some cool cats. That's true.
I think the easiest way I've seen it described is a dog is like, oh, you feed me and you water me and you give me love, like you must be God. And then cats are like, you feed me, you give me water, and you give me love, I must be God. Most obvious difference there.
No, that's true.
Well, Garrett,
my friend calls dogs friend slaves.
Friend slaves.
Which is kind of true.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate. Yeah, they just want to please you, most of the time.
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, they're just there to, try to make you happy.
Yeah. Well, I'll say before I go
Mm-hmm.
about your establishment here.
Yeah.
That I think it's so music is all about personal. What was that?
Hell?
That was a cat.
That's those cats are talking about. They heard us. They're coming for us now.
But it's all about personal relationships.
Yeah.
This business is all about personal relationships. So the fact that Bill runs business the way he does, and it's funny, when I first came to town, he can kind of seem imposing,
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever got that from anybody?
Like, how do you mean?
Well, because he has such a, and people say this about my dad too, but he has a real poker face.
Oh, yeah.
You can't read in his face too much what he's thinking, right?
Yeah.
And so it's been great to get to know him over time and realize that he's always such a good-hearted fella, and he always does such a good deal, and he's always thinking about helping out the folks that are on the scene.
Yeah.
And so it's been cool to get to know him, and of all the folks in town, like, because when I first moved here, there was still Hard Texas, music makers, all those things, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, this is like where I do most of the business that I do anymore. It's like just here because of the personal relationships.
Yeah.
And just so seeing that it's nice, because it's like money where the mouth is kind of a thing,
For sure.
And there's so many folks in town that are making a lot of money off of us, and they don't really do much for us,
Man, thank you for saying that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we definitely appreciate it. We all try and, like you said, personal relationships. We try and,
Yeah.
they're not customers, they're friends.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And also, I can't thank you enough for coming on. I do, if we can keep you for a little bit longer, get a quick little performance from you before we end, if you're willing.
I think on something.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you just want to noodle around,
I haven't
or
been playing in a long time. This acoustic stuff, but I see I always wanted one of these. That's why I'm holding this here when I was playing it.
yeah.
It's the J45 with the fancy whatever's on it.
Right. Yeah. Well, we'll reset right before we
Yeah.
start. Okay.
Right.
Cool. Well, real quick, Garrett. Like I said, I can't thank you enough. Thank you so much for doing it. Thank you so much for talking about some of the things you're willing to talk about. I think it's really good stuff and interesting to hear. So thank you.
Well, hot dog! I tell you what, kids, we've had a good time.
Thank you.
Thanks, man.
Appreciate it, man.
All right. So this song is a tune about basically being a Jehovah's Witness. So, yeah, it goes like this. Well, I was there, but I was not. My mind was someplace far away, consumed with the trouble of just making a day to day. You can't live for tomorrow if you can't live in the day. It's kinda like trying to hold on to the fading light of day. All the dreams of a young man, they're fading quietly away at the speed of sound and of hair turned to gray. You can't live for tomorrow if you can't live in the day. Kinda like trying to hold on to the fading light of day. There's the sins of the mother's sin, and of the father's just the same. And then there's the mystery of who's to blame. I wonder just who's to blame. Yeah, I wonder just who's to blame. Well, I was there, but I was not. You know, my lover, she was just hanging on. You see, we could never seem to get on the same page at the same time. And you can't live for tomorrow if you can't live in the day now. Kinda like trying to hold on to the fading light of day. Oh, I said the fading light of day. Oh, the fading light of day. Said the fading light of day.